These 5 tips genuinely changed how I fish. Whether you're brand new to fly fishing or you're an experienced angler, I'm sure that these 5 simple tips can help you out. And let's have a chat about them in the comments. These are simple and easy to implement right now with the kit that you've already got. Let's discuss how I got better at fly fishing. Tip number 1. Stop untangling every single tangle that you get. Now, we've all been there. You've been casting, it might be slightly windy, you get a tangle in your droppers or even just in your leader if you're just fishing one fly. Now, sometimes you'll take that in and you think, is this salvageable? That is an excellent question to ask yourself every single time you get a tangle, because more often than not, it's better to just take the cast apart, take the flies off and put a new leader on. Now, if you're sitting there wasting time trying to get out a small tangle, that often leads to spending an awful lot of time not fishing. And all of that time that you could have been fishing is normally time that you could have been catching fish. And there's also the key point that once you've untangled a leader, it's almost never the same level of integrity as it was when you first fished it. So I would almost always say that it's worth just putting on a new cast, or what I like doing is cutting off where the tangle starts and putting on a new cast from there. Normally, if it's near a dropper, which it usually is, you can cut off at the dropper, use where that piece of line is still attached to your main line, and start a new dropper from there by tying on an extra piece. So my key first tip is untangle less, tie on more new casts more often than not. Key bit of efficiency fishing. Tip number 2 is how often to change. Now, I like to use a key metric which is change every 30 minutes, but in reality this tip is just about not changing too much, because a lot of people, they'll start fishing something, they get confident with it right off the bat, say it's lovely weather, there's fish rising, you want to fish dry flies, by all means stick on the dry flies first. But if you're not getting reactions, I would actually say you want to start changing whenever you feel like you're not really putting flies that the fish want in front of fish. So if I've cast in front of 5 or 6 fish and not had a single reaction, I'll normally change dry fly. That's totally fine. However, if you find yourself changing every couple of minutes or every 10 minutes, I'd say that's too often. You want to be trying to stick to something at least a little bit before you change off of it. If you find yourself getting in a pattern of changing really frequently all the time, it normally means that you're not actually fishing whatever you've put on properly. So just take your time, change to something that you feel confident in, and if you're really unconfident in something that you're fishing, change off of it. That's my best bit of advice that I've ever had about changing. Try not to change all the time, but if you're unconfident, change. Now, tip number 3 adds on to the last tip that we just had there, which is just generally stop wasting time. Try to prep as much stuff ahead of going out fishing as you can. Now, in a competition, I will tie up casts and have them on foam rollers. I'll have 5 or 6 casts at least before we're going out in a competition, just in case I mess up casts when I'm out there. That means that you can instantly rip off a leader, put a new leader on and get back in the water. But when I say maximising your fishing time in general, just for fun fishing, what I mean there is just make sure you've got your leader all sorted and prepped. Make sure you've got a pair of snips that can fasten on your jacket. Make sure you've got little things that just help the quality of life whilst you're out on the water. Maximise your fishing time, because one of the main things that I see beginners do, and what I did as a beginner, is just not fish. You're not in the water as much because you've got a tangle, like the first thing that we chatted about, or you just want to change fly, or you're sitting and you're not really doing anything because you're looking around for a pair of snips. Those things, just make sure that you've got some level of preparation before you go out fishing. That's going to immediately take your fishing to another level, just because you're going to be fishing more. Now, this 4th one is really interesting because I think that it affects beginners the most, and that is don't copy everyone else. One of the things that I see people doing a lot is just following certain groups. If there's a bunch of people all in one area of a fishery, the one thing you want to do normally as a beginner is try and go over there, because you're going to assume that there's going to be a lot of people, there's going to be people over there for a reason, right? Well, copying other people or trying to change and follow what they're doing is not always the best thing to do, because you might not be confident in what they're doing. You might not actually know what they're doing. So if you're starting to try and copy what other people are doing, it normally gets you into a mindset where you're not going to be fishing as effectively, or you're not going to be doing something that you're confident in. So try not to get the mentality of what are they doing, and just try and fish and have fun on your own. If you're able to go and have a chat with them, by all means, get that information. That's amazing. And normally, if you ever see me at a fishery, come and ask me what I'm using. I'm an open book. And normally if someone does give you at least a little bit of a hint or a bit of chat, then you can swap to that after you know exactly what they're using. But try not to just copy people aimlessly all the time, because that leads you to actually just second guessing your own decision making a lot of the time. Now, the last tip is probably one of the most useful ones, is use smaller flies when you're struggling. If a fishery's been quite pressured and the fish are starting to get spooky or are just difficult to catch in general, one of the rules of thumb that I like to do is just go smaller in the size of the flies you're using. You could use the same type of flies, but just go one size smaller. And that normally leads to catching a couple more fish, or even sometimes having the best day there. Just simply because those fish have seen large flies for a long time, and you changing to that smaller size makes them confident in that fly that you're using. So that's the last tip for these. These 5 tips really made my fishing a lot better, and I hope that you found some interesting points in there. If you've got any other tips you want to chat about, put them in the comments below and let's have a chat. Otherwise, have a good time out in the water. Tight lines, guys. Catch you in the next video. If you want to grab yourself any of the flies in this video, or any other fly tying and fly fishing materials, go and check out My Fishing Flies in Grangemouth, or on their website, myfishingflies.com. They have loads of stuff, from loads of flies, everything you could ever need. Go and check them out. Really high quality stuff, and Dale and Tracy are lovely. They'll help you out. Thanks, guys.